Hello, lads and ladies, and welcome back. Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, match week 4 in Sky Bet League One. 10 games played, 1 to go, 1 postponed because of light failure in a Carabao Cup. So Burton had to go away at Tranmere for the second time in the space of 7 days. We are back reviewing yesterday. A goal in every single game, a lot of tight games. Wasn't the most glamorous of match week, but I often feel Tuesday nights in League One, they're not quite the most glamorous. To join me is someone a little bit more glamorous than, well, I usually have. I normally have someone that's the least glamorous person, well, that I know. And to join me tonight, we have got the one and only Jack Goodwin. Jack, how are we, mate? Oh, hang on a minute. Speak now, you're on mute.
There we go. No,
Great
I'm all right.
start.
I've got Bolton and Reading on my screen over here, and I've got you on my screen over here. So how else would I want to spend my Wednesday evening?
Absolutely. How are you, mate? And for the viewers that maybe not seen you before, who are you and what do you do?
So my name's Jack Goodwin. I am a sports journalist with the BBC. Probably my main job is I do commentating for different football apps, so Flash Score, FotMob, Live Score, Sporty Bet, Bet365. So I cover a range of games. So like last night, I was commentating on Ferencváros versus Qarabağ in the Champions League qualifier, whilst having Stockport and Bradford on my other screen. So yeah, I still try and catch up with EFL as much as possible.
Proper football little geek. We'll come to the chat in a minute, but of League One, before it started this season, what we were expecting, because we are 4 games into the season now, we're in the thick of it. We had our first league midweek match yesterday. It's kind of been Saturday. The true test was started to be yesterday. What was your kind of thoughts and your expectations going into this year with the likes of Cardiff coming down, Plymouth Argyle also coming down, Luton, and then clubs like Bradford, Port Vale, Doncaster Rovers and Wimbledon also adding to the league? It looks a lot more wide open now. Wrexham and Birmingham are out of it, don't they?
I was actually going to say the exact same thing. I feel like it's a much more condensed league. It's a much more even league this year, is the third tier of English football. Like you say, last year you had not the parachute payments, because you still got that with Luton, but you had the millionaire money coming in from Birmingham City, and you also had Stockport and Wrexham, who had all that money going, and the league almost became kind of into 3 different divisions, where kind of this year, other than Luton Town, who are obviously coming down with parachute payments, the other 2 teams coming down, Plymouth, Cardiff, both not being well-run clubs. Cardiff have been a basket case for years. And then also the teams coming up, you're looking at it like Bradford, Doncaster, Port Vale, those 3 for sure, all had pretty good teams coming out of League One, have invested well, good managers that have done well at this level before. And then you've also got AFC Wimbledon, who I can imagine being a similar kind of side to what we've seen with the likes of Stevenage and Northampton over recent years, where they are so good defensively that they are not just going to roll over. And I don't think we're going to have a scenario of like a Crewe Alexandria when they were at this level, or a Forest Green Rovers. I think it is going to be quite a condensed league.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. And I often said, I think for the last few years, that you look at the last maybe 4 or 5 years, there has been those poor sides. And you look at who's finished above the bottom 4 last few years, that a lot of them haven't really pushed on in League One. They've often fallen through the trap door because the teams coming up from League 2 are better and are bigger and got bigger budgets. A bit like the National League to League 2 a little bit, but only 2 go to the drop off a little bit. You don't see as many teams go down from League 2. Obviously, that record, last 54 clubs, 55 clubs that come up for the National League first year, always stayed up. You look at League One, though, you look at the likes of Shrewsbury, Fleetwood, Aki, Forest Green. Now they've all gone. You now start to worry about your Burtons of this world, your Exeters, those types of teams who Exeter won yesterday. We'll get to it. But a team that did nearly suffer relegation at the Football League but somehow pulled off the absolute miracle of Berry getting expelled, which we don't want to. Then Macclesfield also getting expelled. Stevenage stayed in the Football League, and since then, it's been the biggest wake-up call for any football club. They've been promoted, had a real playoff charge in the first year, fell away maybe with about 8 games to go. There was a couple of stinkers in the back end of that year where I think lost to Burton at home. Last year, I thought it was a really solid season, but they just didn't score enough goals and they weren't very attractive in a transition season from Steve Evans to Alex Ravel. Alex Ravel won his 20th league game as manager yesterday in just 52 matches, which is a really good return, 38% win record. Only Graham Wesley has 4 more wins for Borough at this level as well. Stevenage, it's the first time in their history they've won 4 games, their opening 4 games in Sky Bet League One. And Jamie Reid has been a big part of that. 5 goals in his first 4. He didn't do too well last year. He didn't have a pre-season. He's a proper pre-season, and even if you're back into the back end of last year, he started to hit the target. That's 10 goals in his last 18, and it's only for the 3rd time Stevenage have won back-to-back away games, but they've had to do it the difficult period away from home, haven't they, where they've been a goal down at Blackpool, a goal down at Vale, and it was the late show at Vale Park yesterday.
Yeah, it certainly was. And when you're looking at their previous games against Blackpool, Port Vale and Rotherham, it was probably slightly different type of game. You could probably come away from all 3 of those games and think, yes, Stevenage deserved to win it. Where that one, I'm not saying they didn't deserve to win it last night, but it was a little bit more of a hit and run, which sometimes as an away supporter is maybe a little bit more satisfying, knowing that your kind of backs have been against the wall. Port Vale played quite well. They had to rely on the goalkeeper at times. But then for Jamie Reid to come up with 2 late goals, and certainly one of them, the spin and turn with the shot, I can't remember if it was the equaliser or the winner. It was an excellent strike, and it was absolute bedlam for those 100 or so supporters in the away end, which is a great away end at Port Vale. I've enjoyed going there before with Preston North End about 8-9 years ago. But it was
changing now.
Oh, have they? Right, okay.
They're in the other corner now, yeah.
Ah, right, okay. Because I always liked how you were in.
Better.
Okay, right. I didn't realise that, but I always enjoyed being in that corner. But yeah, no, it was absolute scenes. Like I say, absolute hit and run from Stevenage. But that is what you can rely on, I guess, when you've got Carl Piagiani and Charlie Good at the back. Like, they are the definition of rocks at this sort of level. Like, if you've got those 2 playing, you have got a decent backline. So yeah, they've made a great start. Obviously 4 wins out of 4. Myself being a Preston North End fan, we've been in a similar position just a couple of years ago where we started off so well and we were top of the Championship. I think it's crucial at this stage for Stevenage supporters to maybe not to not budge their expectations. I imagine coming into the season, they would have been pretty happy with competing, coming in around 15th, 14th, 13th, like they've been doing previous seasons. I think it's important now because we see it, and we saw it with Wycombe Wanderers last year with their lightning start to the season. As soon as you start well, and if they can continue this to, say, October, and they're within the top 6, all of a sudden it's like, right, we're here now. We've got to finish in the top 6, a bit like Walsall last year. Maybe not to that extent because we're only 4 games in. But it's important to remember who Stevenage are, some of the players they're still relying on. The likes of Luton Town, Plymouth Argyle, Cardiff, they wouldn't have signed Jamie Reid. They wouldn't have gone near Jamie Reid. So Alex Ravel is clearly getting the best out of these players at the moment. Will it last? I'm not sure. You don't want to jump on that bandwagon too soon. But what I'm saying is you don't want to put too much pressure or expectation on them just because they've started the season so well.
You've said more in 4 minutes that I agree with than the other co-hosts in 4 years that I've agreed with. So thank you very much. One thing I'll say, you bang on about the point about, do you think, let me ask you this for Stevenage. Stevenage have got a good squad, got a good team. They've got good players that probably should finish challenge for the top 12 minimum. And last year, points-wise, I think they were in around 14, 15. The squad they had, I think they've massively improved it this year. They've added a bit of flair. They've had a bit of experience. Phoenix Patterson, John Horton, Jasper Patterson. They've added good players. They've had it in my eyes. I think Stevenage had a good season last year, and Charlie Keegan, who watched the show, said it last year, and I bang agree with him. I thought Stevenage, if you take away the season they had the year before where they overachieved and they started well up to about March, that would have been deemed as a better season than it was, if you get me.
Yeah.
So one thing I will say, and this is going to show that I'm not being horrible, I'm full of credit for Stevenage. The win away at Blackpool was a phenomenal victory. To come from a goal down and win that game of football and the scenes you did, great victory. Nothing against that. The next 3 games, if you spread these 3 games out in the season, and I know you can only beat what's put in front of you, they've beaten Rotherham, Northampton and Port Vale, who I had in my bottom 6. They are clubs Stevenage would expect to finish above. And if you're going that in the season, you're thinking Rotherham at home, you're trying to beat Northampton at home, and you're trying to not Port Vale away is one of your. If you're going to win 5 or 6 away from home and be a competitive League One side, you're thinking Port Vale away. So let's not get the bunting out just yet. But they're 4 from 4. They can only beat what's put in front of them. They've got a lot of good talent in there, and I agree. I think they've got to stay firmly on the ground. The character last night was phenomenal. It showed enormous character, and the good thing is those 4 games, their mindset should be that's a quarter of the way near enough to League One safety for another year. Get to 50 points and really, really build on. Now, another club, well, 2 clubs for me that we saw battling in League 2 and now we're seeing battling in League 1. Bradford City go away at Stockport County and win by 2-1. They have played 4 games so far, Jack. They've won 3, they've drawn 1. They've won 3 games by 2-1. Relegated Luton back-to-back, who were in the Championship last season. They've beaten Wycombe at home, who were in the League One playoff semi-finals last year. And they've also beaten the other League One semi-finalist, Stockport, away from home. In that, a 0-0 draw against Northampton, where nothing really happens, but in my eyes, he probably had the best chance in the game. I think it was Power who had it that day. It was a great victory. Stockport, before it, had won 10 of the last 11 league games at home, drawing the other one. So they're in a great form, winning 6 on the spin there. Bradford going there, being a goal down for an Owen Moxon goal. They've started bright. Graham Alexander's sides normally start bright, and they often win by that odd goal. They did that so many times last year. They won by the odd goal to get promoted for an own goal through James Bolton. They found a way to win yesterday in a classy style by beating a really, really good Dave Challoner Stockport side.
Yeah, definitely. And as I mentioned before, this is the game that I was able to catch live and keep one eye on. And yeah, it's a funny old game because I think you go watch this game back, you almost kind of can't believe that Stockport County haven't won it, especially the chance at the end where Sam Walker saved it onto the post. It's like it looks like it's gone over the line, but the replay's shown that it's just an unbelievable save. But this is what Graham Alexander does, and the teams you mentioned there, Wycombe Wanderers, Luton Town, and Stockport. I think those are 3 teams that will be expecting to be in and around the top 6 with the calibre of players they've had and previous seasons. So it is such a good start for Bradford. A really, really good start. I just do wonder whether playing those sort of sides are the sort of teams that suit the way Graham Alexander likes to play. He likes to kind of maybe not have the ball and he likes to maybe hit them. And maybe it becomes a little bit more difficult, like we saw against Northampton, where the onus is on them and the expectations on them to create opportunities and to find goals. I just wonder whether they may have a little stumbling block when they play those sort of sides, of which they're going to come up against them. But also important to say, doing a great job. I know Bradford are a big club, but you look at their 11 last night. It's not a team that you expect to go away to Edgeley Park and win. I remember the last time I was on the show when we were coming to the dying end of the League Two season, and you kind of weren't overly sold on Graham Alexander, and I was kind of defending him. And I just think I don't think there's many better League One managers than Graham Alexander at getting the best out of players, and I think that's what we're seeing at the moment.
bang on with possession. I just had a look there. 31% against Wycombe, 34 against Luton, and 38 against Stockport yesterday. So you bang on there. But one thing they do they had more shots than Wycombe Wanderers in the game of football at Vale Parade. Against Luton, they made it frantic. And again, they had more shots. Last night, they got peppered of their goal and they had 8 shots against. You're going to have nights through that. My only issue with Graham Alexander, his style of football at times has to win. It's ugly, it's nasty, but it's suited to League One and League Two. And he'll make no apologies for that. One thing I will always say about Graham Alexander, up till October, November, his sides always Salford, Scunthorpe, Fleetwood, Bradford, pretty much everywhere he's been. Salford was a joke. By the way, he got sacked after 4 games. I think he lost 1 in his first 4. Or I don't think he hadn't.
No, they were unbeaten.
No, yeah, I think it was 4 games. I think he'd won 2 and drawn 2.
Yeah.
I think they were 2-0 up in a game and they drew 2-2. Something like that. And I remember, I think we were at uni together on the Monday and I said to you, I was like, I've been sacked. Right. And that for me is the biggest turning point in Salford's revival. That's a story for a different show at all. But up to November, they're very, very, very organized. Then they normally hit a bumper, then they normally turn it around. And I just feel sometimes it can get a bit repetitive. But I thought you saw last night 2 very good managers. And I think Humphries is important for them because he's someone, a striker, that can make it stick. Graham Alexander basically said to him, look, if you want to come and play on the right, you're not going to do so. You're a centre forward or nothing. And he's basically sold him that dream. Sarsic, you're right, he's not a League One player. Bobby Poynton's going to be outstanding for them this year. He's got subbed at half time yesterday, but you feel like it'll be pivotal to what they want to do. Josh Nerfel and Abu Toure, 2 great fullbacks. Experienced in Abu Toure, who was at Salford. I think he had at Salford, Graham Alexander as well. Thinking back to that as well. Curtis Tilt as well. Experienced. Pennington. It was a great victory. Stockport, I do think they'll be back. They've had a tough start when you're looking at Stockport of who they've had to play. They've had Bolton Wanderers, Wycombe, Leyton, Orient and Bradford. And that's a tough start. They have got Burton, Wigan, Plymouth, Cardiff to come. So every game I feel is tough in this division for different reasons. Next up is a game that I actually watched extended highlights for one reason or another. Huddersfield 2, Doncaster 0. Huddersfield business in the summer got raved about. Jack, what do you think about Northern football?
Well, what does that mean? I have absolutely no idea.
I can tell you what that means because I go on about this all the time. And I said for the last 12 months on this show that in my eyes, forget Man City, forget Premier League franchise football, that you look at League One, League Two of how clubs want to play, and I think it alternates where you're from. Like Rotherham or Huddersfield, the Huddersfield fan will be there, sat in the seat going, get it forward, Huddersfield, get it out wide, cross into box. That's what they want. They want balls out wide, cross into the box, frantic football. They do not want pass. Whereas Russell Martin at Southampton, it's suited. Russell Martin at Rangers doesn't suit it. So I think some clubs have a persona of how they want to. At Fleetwood, I want to get the ball out wide into the box, cross, and be frantic. I don't want to have the ball. I want to be, when we get it, quick and in transition and be excited. I'm not patient. Whereas I feel Northern is basically got no patience. So I think Northern football is long ball, getting the ball out wide, frantic, 2-touch football, exciting, on your toes.
I imagine Manchester City supporters may disagree.
I said forget about franchise football. Forget about the big clubs.
Okay.
Sorry, Man City. Man City a big club now.
Yeah, they can be. No, great game last night. And like yourself, I watched it was 12-minute highlights, wasn't it? And Doncaster started so well. They should have been in front. They had some gilt-edged opportunities. And if it wasn't for Owen Goodman, who I think is an outstanding sign, I think that's one of the signings of the season for Huddersfield, and they've made that many. I think that's one of the best signings they've made because he was excellent at Wimbledon last year and he started the season so well. But Doncaster actually started the better of the two teams, and I think the first 4 or 5 clips are all of Doncaster, are all on top, and somehow they didn't score. And then inevitably you get punished at this sort of level, especially against a Huddersfield side who have got a lot of quality in the ranks, a team now who, well, same as last year, really, but it's still a team that they should be expecting to be competing for automatic promotion. The outlay of signings that they have made. I think sometimes we, as journalists and us supporters, can maybe get a bit overexcited with signings. Sometimes the best team will be the team that have kept it solid and have maybe just added 2 or 3. But with Huddersfield, they've changed a lot of their team. But they've made a very good start, and I'm impressed with what I've seen from Lee Grant. I'm impressed with what I've seen from quite a lot of the players as well. So there's positives to take from Doncaster. I think they'll do well this season. And Huddersfield, who I wasn't sure about going into the season, I think I had them actually 10th in my predictions, or 11th, which was a lot lower down than a lot of other people did. But that was because there was a lot of variables there that we didn't know about. A lot of the signings, I didn't know how they were going to settle in. The manager we didn't know about. So I didn't want to gamble on Huddersfield Town, where everyone else kind of seemed to have them at least in the probably the top 4. But they've started really well. So at the moment, they're proving me wrong.
It was a great victory for them because Doncaster, bear in mind, in my eyes, are a very, very, very good side, and they're more than capable of finishing in the top 12 in this division. I think I rate them that high. Billy Sharp could have had a couple of goals himself, had a couple of good opportunities. I thought, you look at their team, McGrath at the back is a very, very good player. I really like Middleton. I thought Middleton had actually a decent game as well. He was creative, and he's coming in from Scotland, I think a league that you watch quite a lot of as well. Sahara, when he went through, Castledine, digging back, getting back, tackling, stopping him going through. That's what you want. Luke Molyneux's a fantastic player. We all know and love. Owen Bailey, fantastic player in midfield. But Huddersfield, they stem the flow of the game at 0-0. You're looking at they're taking off Alfie May, Leo Castledine. They're taking off, I think they took off Murray Wallace experience, and they're bringing on Wiles, Sorensen, and Taylor. And Taylor has struggled for goals. I think it was his first goal since March. He's a penalty kick, but he wins it. Marcus Harness as well I thought was outstanding yesterday. He could have had a couple of goals himself. Gets an assist for the first goal for Ben Wiles. And Ben Wiles is a player that every time he's come up to the Championship, he's struggled. But last year, he got 17 goal contributions in all competitions in 51 games, 13 of which did come in League One. Fantastic. They've got options off the bench to change it. You look at it yesterday, they didn't bring on Marcus McGuane. They didn't bring on, they brought on Dion Charles in the end. We're not bringing on players like Marcus McGuane, and there's players being left out of squads. It's a good victory for them. For Doncaster, look, you will lose tough games of football. They've started excellently. It wasn't always going to last. They were on a great streak from last season. They've come up. And Huddersfield actually have a great record against Yorkshire sides. They've only lost one of the last 13 games against Yorkshire sides. A 2-1 defeat to Huddersfield in February 2024. And after yesterday, Huddersfield ended a streak against Doncaster Rovers, failing to win any of their last 7 league games against Rovers since a 2-1 win in August 2005. So a great victory for Huddersfield after a disappointing defeat at Bloomfield Road. And I think they'll be disappointed. On Saturday, they didn't test Bailey Peacock Farrell in the Blackpool goal in North. I'm interested to hear what you say on this one, Jack. Richie Wellens, Leyton Orient, you know what you're going to get. Yes, they often lose key players every summer because who they are and what they are. They lost Kelman, who was on loan. Ethan Galbraith, who was fantastic. Josh Keeley, who was in goal. They've lost key players in key positions, but replaced them very well against the Plymouth Argyle side that are in a mess at the minute. That's their 4th defeat on the spin in League One. Plymouth 0, Leyton Orient 1.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that Plymouth have started poorly, to be honest. I really was not impressed with their summer business. There's a guy at work that's a Plymouth fan, so or an Argyle fan, as they like to be referred to. So we talk a lot about it, and he had, I should expect with them coming down to the from the Championship, a lot of expectation coming into the season. But again, it's another team that I had mid-table, and I just think they've been a really poorly ran club. Which you asked me this 2 years ago, I'd have said Plymouth were one of the best ran clubs in the country, but ever since Stephen Schumacher left for the Stoke job, it's just been an absolute hotbed of a mess. going through different ideologies, completely different managers, sacking managers, bringing in Wayne Rooney, probably because of his name, signings kind of coming in that have no EFL experience. I just think there's a real soft centre about them, and there has been in the last 18 months or so. I didn't particularly like the Tom Cleverley appointment. I know that people are excited about him, and he had a good reputation, or he was well liked at Watford, and he did have a good first season of sorts there. But the whole thing throughout his time at Watford, the reoccurring theme was that the underlying data was completely against him. Last year, they were one of the worst performing sides in the league. So, yes, they may have got the odd result here and there, but for Plymouth and Simon Haller, and who have, from what I can remember, when they had Ryan Lowe and Stephen Schumacher, they spoke a lot about a data-aligned approach. I don't know how they've appointed Tom Cleverley, and don't get me wrong, I am not the biggest nerd possible, so I don't know every little metric going, and you probably do, but
no, I'm not that bad.
I couldn't particularly see how Tom Cleverley, other than him being young and being well liked at Watford, was a good manager to kind of rebuild this Plymouth Argyle image. And the goals they've conceded so far this season have been embarrassing. They were a little bit better yesterday. I'll give them credit. Leyton Orient obviously only coming away with a 1-0 win, but it's a good win for Orient. I like the forward signings that they've made. I really like Aaron Connolly. I think that's a real big coup for them. Josh Gromer, I like him. So I am worried for Plymouth Argyle. It's early days, but to lose, they've lost 4 out of 4, haven't they?
Did you see the video after the game? I've seen it yet.
Oh yeah, I did see with
he looks broke. He's looked broke for a few weeks. They've not signed a proper striker. That Owen Osini, I think it's called.
Yeah, Osini, yeah.
14 goals at Gateshead. He's 22. Gateshead in the National League trying to get into a playoffs. I think they missed out on the last day. To Plymouth Argyle trying to get into the Championship. I just look at the squad. Yeah, it's bang mid-table.
It's just young for the sake of being young, isn't it? Like I've literally got the squad up here on SofaScore, right? How many players will I go through until I find a 25 or above year old? So we've got 5 attackers. This is SofaScore. 5 attackers. No one under the age of 25. You've got 9 midfielders. There's 1 over the age of 25, Jamie Patterson, and then there's a couple more defenders. But like I'm saying, I think that's just like such a soft spine, and I think you do need, and I think we'll come to it with Cardiff City as well. But I do think you need a little bit of experience. Look at Wrexham last year. Look at Birmingham. It's not the be all end all signing young players and then selling them on a year later. You still need to have some experienced pros, and I just think it's a really poorly recruited squad.
Well, you look at Leyton Orient, you've got Happy and Beckles at the back, who Beckles has been the spine of their team for years. Beckles is, his last 5 years in football, 6 years have been unbelievable. He seems to he's got older, got better. For me, I don't think he'll get mentioned. I think Idris El Mazouni is one of the top 10 signings of this League One window. On loan at Leyton Orient for those 2 years, he was phenomenal, by the way. Him coming back in, obviously, they've lost Galbraith, but unbelievable. Oliver O'Neill, fantastic. Leyton Orient just feel like, should Plymouth Argyle be losing Leyton Orient games of football? Historically, probably not. But Leyton Orient, I feel that they're just, at the moment, better ran, better off the pitch, better on the pitch, more sustainable, more comfortable with who they are. They're more settled. Plymouth are a team of individuals. Leyton Orient are a great team. Tommy Simkin, great loan. They just feel they recruit great lads, great teams. Richie Wellens is a great manager, and he knows the inside out. Look, he's won 89 games out of like 182 there. He's a fantastic manager, the job that he's done. And Leyton Orient, again, they've had a good start. People will look at Leyton Orient, they're 9th. We're only 4 games in, first of all. But they're at 7 points from 4 games. That is inflated at the minute because some teams on like 10. You look at how many teams are on 10. There's 4 clubs averaging 2.5 points a game. That won't continue. You've got up to I don't know, for example, up to 10th, all on 7 points. That's like 1.7 points a game. That's playoff form. It's not going to carry on throughout the whole season. So you feel like, it will get better. And again, they've had a good run of it. They've beaten Wigan at home. They lost to Huddersfield, but look, I think everyone could lose Huddersfield away this year at times. They're a good side, Leyton Orient. I really, really like what they're about. I underestimated in the last 2 years, not this year. And it is actually Leyton Orient's first clean sheet in 13 matches. Leyton Orient haven't kept a clean sheet in the previous 12, but won 7 of them and lost the other 5. So I think they drew 0-0 away at Blackpool the game before, and this is the first time that Huddersfield got Huddersfield on my mind for some reason, that Plymouth have lost back-to-back games at home on the first 2 games since the 2011-12 season. And it's a great victory. Mansfield 2, Blackpool 0. 2 corners, the weakness for Blackpool. It's been a bit of an issue for a while. I think Blackpool are a decent team in the making, but they're a bit soft away from home. They're a bit soft from set pieces. You can bully them a little bit. And Steve Bruce called them out yesterday. I just watched his interview with Ian Chisnall just before coming on and basically was hammering them that a midfielder has bullied them and scored twice from a corner and Blackpool don't pick it up and it's the same old, and he doesn't know what else he can do.
Yeah, it's a really poor start for Blackpool. Again, a side that I actually expected to do very well this season. I had in my top 6, pushing for automatic promotion was what I was thinking because he ended the season so well. But yesterday they didn't look like scoring. None of the highlights that came out were really from Blackpool attacking. It was the Stags who were on the attack, and then, like you say, 2 poorly conceded goals from set pieces. Which this was the battle of probably 2 of the most experienced managers in the Football League, if not the 2 most experienced managers in Nigel Clough and Steve Bruce. But yeah, I think Steve Bruce is right to come out and criticise his team because he's been backed. And they should be playing better. And he's not, he himself will be subject to criticism as well because you look at the team they had in the midfield. They had Lee Evans, George Honeyman, Albie Morgan. That's such a good midfield 3 for the level. Emil Hansen and the lad from Crystal Palace, Malcolm Ebowie.
I'm not going to try and help you pronounce that.
Those 2 coming off the bench, like these are 2 good players with really good pedigree. They've got Ashley Fletcher and Niall Ennis. They've got
Looking after that though. I know Ennis is out suspended. Blackpool seem to be the same problem as Fleetwood. They've got a good 15 players after that. It's like they signed loads of players at once. It's like, oh well, where do we go now?
Yeah, but I still think they should be expecting to be. I think it's one of the better squads in the league for me for Blackpool, and I think the way they've started the season. I mean, they shouldn't be losing. They shouldn't be losing to Exeter, Stevenage, Mansfield. 1-1 or a couple drop points is fine. That's football, okay. But to lose against those 3 teams, I don't think that's good enough. And I think Steve Bruce will address it because I think he is a good manager at this level. And I think he did a really good job last year coming in, I say mid-season after 2 games, which is never easy when they're not your players and it's pre-season. I think he did do a good job last year and I've got plenty of belief in him. And I think Blackpool have got a really good side, but it is a very poor start because it's not like they've played 4 really good teams. They've actually probably beaten on paper the best team in Huddersfield when they had 10 men. But let's not take away from Mansfield as well, because for me that's their best performance of the season. It was important that they got off to a good start because there wasn't pressure on Nigel Clough, absolutely not, I don't think, but because I think it was 2 wins in 23, wasn't it? There was a really, really poor end to the season after a really good, promising start. It was important that Nigel Clough just got a little bit of good feeling back in, and even though they've got a lot of money and they were able to outspend teams in League 2, you look at their squad in League 1 and their starting 11, and you can't say you expect loads from Mansfield, but they've started the season well, so credit to them.
Yeah, Jamie McDonald getting both goals on loan from Nottingham Forest. He had a good loan spell at Colchester last year, didn't he? I feel like they've lowered the age gap this year. I felt like they were high 30s, and a lot of time you think later on in the season you'll get better, you'll experience. Maybe they just ran out of legs a little bit last year, but they were fantastic yesterday. 6 shots. They conceded 1 shot on target. Blackpool were poor. Blackpool were nowhere near the level. Mansfield great. And it's their second victory of the season. And for Stags, you feel beaten sides when you've got that momentum is key. They beat Exeter at the weekend, which I thought was a superb victory, because that is a side that you think you need to finish above. When you are thinking that realistically, bottom 8, stay in the division, you've got to beat sides. Right? Blackpool at home is a game where I'll take a point. Great that they've won it, and won it in great style. And you look at Blackpool, we're very poor. And even the penalty saves, shout out to Bailey Peacock-Farrell, I thought made 2 great saves and the penalty kick, and off the line as well. It was superb. Big thank you so much, Sue. Thanks for the donation. I appreciate it, as always. And a big thank you to all you that are commenting. Give us a like, give us a subscription. Keep the comments flowing. And Blackpool actually, for the first time in 12 league games, away games, failed to score. 11 league games it was, the streak. The last time they went longer than that, scoring every single away game in a streak, was 1996, of a run of 15. Big away win for Barnsley, Jack, who have started bright. Peterborough, I'm worried for. We'll come to Peterborough in a minute. But Barnsley are now unbeaten across their last 6 league away games against Peterborough, winning 4 of whom, drawing the other 2. And after beating Plymouth 3-1 on match day 1, Barnsley have now won both their first 2 league away games of a Football League season for the first time since 2018-19. Conor Hourihane, so far, maybe you've got a song saying we'll bring the glory days back. And they've started bright, 10 points from their first 4. They've had to do it in different fashions, but another 3 points.
Yeah, and it was a good game. It was really open. I expected this game to be quite high scoring, so when I saw it was 1-0, I was a little shocked and a little disappointed. But actually, watching the highlights back, it was very open. It was poor finishing, mainly on Barnsley's part, but also Peterborough had a couple opportunities as well. David McGoldrick, I think, could have probably got a hat trick from this game, but didn't take his chances when they came his way. It was a good goal by Caelan Vickers in the end. But yeah, no, really good start for Conor Hourihane, and I'm keen for him to do well. You're always keen for young managers to start off well, and especially at a club like Barnsley, where I don't want to call them a basket case, but a bit of a basket case in terms of going through so many managers over recent years. And, they've kind of always kept a similar sort of identity, but they've never really had that sort of stability in the dugout. So I'm always a bit wary, a bit like Tom Cleverley at Watford. I was always a bit wary about him at Watford because it's not the sort of place, it's almost like a dungeon for a young manager, because obviously you're learning on the job. It's your first ever job. So for Conor Hourihane, he's made a really good start. They've got some good players in there. I don't look at their squad and think top 6. I'm thinking this season it's, just have a good season, entertain, compete. Yeah, foundations. That's a great word. But they've started the season very well. I've said it quite a few times, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're 4 games into the season, but they've got plenty to be proud of. Peterborough, on the other hand, 4 losses from 4. I don't see Darragh McAntony panicking. He has invested a lot in this squad. He's brought in a lot of youngsters. He thinks his methods will work. They have worked in the past. But yeah, not the greatest of starts from Peterborough. Actually, a really poor start. There's not many games where, I don't think there has been a game this season where you've come away and thought they've deserved anything. So, yeah.
Let me ask you a question quickly. In the last 5 years, Peterborough in League One, What do you think, Jack? What the first thing you like? Like when you think like of a certain player, like Ross Barkley, Everton, you think outside the box, posting in, 30-yard screamer. You think that I don't know, Harry Kane, 30 goal seasons. Right? With Peterborough, what do you without seeing who they've got in the team? What do you think about Peterborough?
I just think young. I always think the young and concede silly goals, weak defensively, which comes with being young. That is like quite a obviously. I think the standout moment from the last 5 years is that capitulation against Sheffield Wednesday in the playoffs, of course, which we all remember. But that kind of links back to it that they just. I said it about Plymouth before, a little bit of a soft spine. And don't get me wrong, I do like some of the signings they've made. They've just signed Clady Lolos, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, good signing.
Well, when you think about Peterborough, for me, I think young but hungry, concede goals but score goals, concede 3, score 4, exciting. And I remember when they had a team out against Fleetwood, and it was when, in my eyes, their oldest player on the pitch was 26. And they had an average age of 23.10. And they had Mason Clark, Poku, and Mothersill, Ricky J. Jones as a front four. I think they had Archie Collins and what's he called? Other lad in midfield. They've still got him now. It'll come to me. What's he called? Anyway, we'll come back to it. But it was a core. They've had 8 shots on target across 4 games of football. And yes, they could have had 2 goals at times, but I look at them now and I think very much they feel like a bottle of Coke with no fizz. And it feels like you put the Mentos in and it's lost its sparkle a little bit. It's lost its little bit of jizz. It's lost its little bit of momentum. And they're trying to make the spark work again. And it's like they're struggling at this moment in time. And Peterborough are that side that you'd pay money to go and watch because that's the way they want to play. I thought they'd be in the bottom 8 this year. Again, the Cardiff game, there were 2 very young, naive teams out. That Brian Murphy is reinventing what Cardiff do. Don't get me wrong, Luton at home you can forgive, but the second goal they conceded so I don't know if you've seen it, but they passed back to the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper, heavy touch, and it's in the back of the net. Atkinson, Darren Ferguson calls the performance pathetic and spineless, and that's what Peterborough had been in the last years. Away at Wigan, again, it was so flat at Wigan, like you wouldn't believe. They had 16 shots, had a lot of the ball, but they do nothing with it. And Peterborough, when they have the ball, they're so good with it. And again, yesterday, you look through, again, stats. Barnsley have come and had more passes than them, 5 shots. Peterborough have had one on target. I don't think Peterborough get offended enough that teams now are coming to the London Road and outplaying them and winning. And for me, when you're at home, I was speaking to my mate about this yesterday. I think the biggest shock in that is that I've got a friend. But I was like, when people come to your home stadium, you should be like, I'm offended that you think you can come and beat us here. That doesn't happen. If you want to beat us, you're going to be better than us and outplay us, and we're going to have to make you work. I don't think you have to work hard to beat this Peterborough side at this moment. And I look at them. Bradley Ibrahim up front is a decent player. Lolos is a don't get me wrong, is a great signing. If he can make it work, he didn't really work at Bolton Wanderers, but Bolton Wanderers' expectation to thing is Peterborough's expectation. Keane Hayes, he's a great lad, but he's not brilliant. He isn't brilliant. If I'm going to be honest, Archie Collins is a good player. Cole Johnson is again middle of the road League One, bottom end League One football. Verge will give everything. I like a Cogbu. I think it was excellent at Walsall. I thought the signing of Bass was great. Donnelly, I just look at them and think, this could go down. This really could go down. There's no leaders.
No.
Who's leading that group? That's what I think.
Darren Ferguson. That's probably That is probably the saving grace, I would say, because he is a good manager at this level. He seems frustrated with the situation, but I think ultimately, if they are going to not survive, let's not over exaggerate it. Of course, we're only 4 games into the season, but if they are going to do anything more than just survive, I think it will be relying on Darren Ferguson working miracles. Who's a good manager at this level and is obviously a Peterborough legend.
They've not won in 10 since Wembley as well. That, for me, is good. They've not won since March. I know they didn't play for 3 months, but that has to be a concern for me. Just keep an eye on Peterborough. But again, take nothing away. I'm a big believer. Yes, Peterborough are poor. The first thing I'll always try and do is hold my hands up. Like yesterday, Crewe were excellent, Fleetwood were poor. It must always, I hate this. Oh, how bad were they? You must always credit the team that I think that win. That's the way my mindset works. Wycombe 0, Exeter 1. I'm going to let you talk on this because I know you're very passionate about this matter. Managers and given time. Matt Bloomfield didn't start too well at Wycombe Wanderers and had to implement the way they wanted to play and had to be patient. Dodds in the first 3 games, he had the most passes in the league, most possession in the league, and it hadn't quite worked. And he's only won 7 of 24 league games in charge, losing 11 of which. And they are struggling at this moment in time. They've lost their last 4 home matches, not including playoffs, that is, for the first time in the Football League, which isn't great. Dodds, he came in a difficult situation last year of trying to keep the momentum up. Didn't quite do so. Didn't perform in the playoffs. What's your opinion?
I didn't realise he had only won 7 of 24. That's
he won them all together, though. He drew a few. Then, if you look back, he won like 3 or 4 in a row. And then then they got into the top 2 because Wrexham drew a couple.
Right.
I think they drew to Bristol Rovers at home, and they drew another one. I think they drew 1-1 somewhere, Wrexham, and they dropped point. And Wycombe went above them, and Wrexham then went to Wycombe and won 1-0, and that basically won the league.
I'm really rooting for him. I think if there is a club or a team that have been the most unlucky in the bottom 2 divisions of the Football League, I think it's Wycombe Wanderers. Like that game yesterday, the goal that they've conceded, it's just an absolute nightmare. But it's not on anyone but that one individual, Jack Grimmer, who's just completely misread the situation. And it's probably also on the linesman, the assistant referee, because it's offside. Even though Jack Grimmer is the one that headed it in, he wouldn't have headed it in if the player behind him wasn't running towards the ball, who was clearly in an offside position. You could see when the goal was given, the assistant referee and the ref kind of hesitated, kind of looked at each other and they thought, and they just gave the goal. It was clearly offside, and I'm not one to hammer officials at all, but when you're talking about Mike Dodds and his first managerial job, because if this doesn't go well for him, he's realistically probably not going to get another number 1 job, because that is how it works. You've kind of got to do well in your first job to be hired somewhere else. But they dominated that game, and I know a lot of it came from shots from outside the box, but it's just not going their way. And the camera cut after that goal went into Mike Dodds, and he was literally like pulling his hair out. And I just felt for him, because I think even last year, he made Wycombe so solid. Like, he came in and you can't say he didn't have an impact. He made them defensively better. They became a defensively better side. The issue was they weren't then able to turn that into attacking quality. But like yesterday, domination. I think they had 8 shots on target. Exeter had 1 on target. They've scored with an own goal. You could have played that game for 3 more hours and Exeter wouldn't have scored. Joe Whitworth was, who I can't believe is at Exeter City, has got another loan at Exeter. I think that's a great bit of business for them. A keeper I really highly rate. But again, Joe Whitworth making 2 or 3 really good saves. I'm a believer in Mike Dodds, and I think he will turn it around because, like I've said before, I'm a bit of a believer in data, and the XG and the underlying metrics are kind of in his favour since he's come in, and the underlying metrics actually said that he made the XG anyway, it improved last year when he came in for Wycombe compared to what Matt Bloomfield was having, but clearly the results didn't. Whether that's game state and whether that's because they're falling behind, so then obviously they're going to be on top. But no, I'm a believer in Mike Dodds. I'd like to think they're going to give him time. They picked him as their man. They didn't, from all sources, they didn't, or were told, didn't fight to keep hold of Bloomfield when he got poached by Luton. So Dodds was their man. Keep hold of him. I think they've got a decent team there, and I'm hoping he'll turn it around because there's not many games where you're going to have 8 shots on target and the opposition will have 1 and you're going to come away losing it.
It was a real slugfest, but full credit to Gary Colwell and Exeter for winning that game of football. You win 1-0, you go for away from home. Look, it's an own goal that gets the goal. They have a lot of corners, Exeter, don't get me wrong, but 2 big wins against Blackpool, a win against Wycombe. They normally start seasons off well. My question is, sustain it, go and stay in the division again, go and prove people wrong. Big game at the weekend. I think their next 5 games are very possible to go and get points. Northampton away, Peterborough at home, Rotherham away. They've got Vale at home, and I think they've got to go away at Stevenage after that as well, which you're going to pick up maybe 7 points from those 5, 6, 7 points. It's a good return. Keep going, getting more points than games played, basically. Going after every 5, you get 6 or 7, you'll be more than you should stay in the division. It's a great victory. Full credit to Exeter. Once again, wrapping up the games now as we go to Luton 1, Wigan 0. Luton claimed successive league wins against Wigan Athletic for the first time after winning 2-0 in their last encounter in January 2023. And Luton have won each of their last 4 home league games, going back to last season in the Championship, their longest since a run of 5 in March and April 2023 on their road to promotion. And we'll certainly be hoping they're on the road back to the Championship. And Wigan's away woes go on. Just 1 win in 12 league away games, losing 4, drawing 7. Losing their first one in the road to Leyton Orient, and then this one 1-0. They did hit a post, but so did Leyton Orient. Sam Tickle made a couple of good saves. Unfortunate for Wigan, but Luton find a way to get a win. Their 3rd win of the season, backing up that win. That defeat away at Bradford, getting back to winning ways. Again, very tight game, but Luton just about edge it 1-0. Saville, the goal scorer. Good goal as well.
Yeah, it was coming in from a cross, wasn't it? He met it well, but this looks like it's going to be the blueprint on how Luton are going to pick up points, and it's not quite Birmingham last year, who had a lot of 1-0s and 2-0s in the early stages where they dominated the ball. It's almost like you're just never going to get past us. Like, we are the Berlin Wall, and you are not getting past us at all. Like, you can try, but your quality in the league is just not going to get past you. So, if you keep your clean sheets, which you have done in 3 of the 4 games, that is very good. But I just tend to think I'm just, again, 4 games in, but I'm just a little disappointed with them.
Some are late bloomers, though, aren't they? Just about getting results.
Yeah, they played Wimbledon. They played Wimbledon. They played Peterborough. They obviously lost to Bradford, and they've played Wigan. I've watched the highlights of all of those games. I watched the Wimbledon game live, actually, and they definitely didn't deserve to win that one.
No.
From what I'm told, they didn't deserve. From what I'm told from my mate who's a Bradford fan, they definitely didn't deserve to win that one. Watching the Wigan and Peterborough highlights, I'm not overly sure they deserve to win them either. It's almost like every game I thought, yeah, even game, yeah, quite a dull game. It's just a little bit disappointing in Luton because they've got parachute payments. They've got players that should be playing in the higher level. They've got such a good squad. It's one of the best squads in recent memory. Disregarding Birmingham in League One history.
They don't count.
But they should. I just kind of feel like they should be blowing teams away, and I know it's not as simple as that. And I know that this is possibly the blueprint that Bloomfield's wanting and what Luton Town's wanting. They're wanting to win games 1-0. But if I was a Luton fan, I almost feel like you have to get promoted this season. You have to get automatically promoted this season. If you don't, it's embarrassing with the squad that they've got. I just almost kind of think if I was a Luton fan, I'd be sat in my armchair now thinking, should I be entertained a little bit more?
I think winning games of football is far better. Look, don't get me wrong. I think one thing you've got to say, Jack, as well, and I know they improved. They've just got back-to-back relegations. For the last 2 years, they've had a losing culture at that football club. And when you have a losing culture, it's so hard to switch. Carlisle have done it. Scunthorpe did it. Forest Green Rovers have done it. Fleetwood have had it in the last years. Blackpool pretty much did it as well. When you've got that negativity, it's about grinding your gears out and getting through. If you're not good, it's better to be, in my eyes, I think that if you're not great, win the game 1-0. Don't concede. You'll always get a point, score a goal, 1-0. Blueprint of football. You can get up that way. There's a lot of ways to skin a cat. And I think Wrexham won plenty of games 1-0 last year. And if you can do that, it's good. It's those types of games that they weren't winning 1-0. Maybe they're going for straight and losing, maybe lose 1-0 or draw 0-0. It's important you win that game of football. Entertainment is good. That I feel can come. Ipswich didn't entertain up to maybe December, January, the year they went up. From January onwards, they were the apps. They're the best. I hate to say this, but for 5 months, they're the most enjoyable side I've ever covered on this channel. I love covering Birmingham for different reasons. They were phenomenal from start to finish. Plymouth won that league with 101 points. They were great. But that Ipswich team, every week when you're thinking, wow. I watched my way at Barnsley where that game where they basically, I think, secure promotion. And they were phenomenal. And away at Fleetwood when they could have won the league. So I think they got promoted at Barnsley and they won the league won second place at Fleetwood and could have got 100 points that day. So yeah, I get it. They've got Cardiff on Saturday. Burton to come, Blackpool, Plymouth, Lincoln. It's all about just grinding out those gears, getting victories because the clubs above them, they're not going to carry on winning the game of football that they are. So good victory for them. Full credit must go. Wimbledon 0, Cardiff 1. Wimbledon signed Patrick Bauer today. Jack, a player that you'll know a lot about. I think that's quite a decent signing for Wimbledon. Lost this one again. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I've only just twigged this. I said, as an unpopular opinion, it's in my unpopular opinions, and I did it with Jake on the start of the show, at the start of the season show, if anyone remembers. I said Wimbledon last season were the kings of winning 1-0. And the last 4 games of the season, Grimsby away to get into the playoffs, won 1-0. Notts County away, I was there, won 1-0. They were great that night. Notts County at home, won 1-0. And Walsall 1-0. Those games could have gone either way on those occasions, but they found a way to dig it out. And because League Two isn't as quality and they had decent quality to match, if not be better, and they could make it dogged and make it their own game and frustrate. And were, in my eyes, in League Two last year, when I say box defenders, when you get through to the middle pack of you, the last layer, that there was always a block, there was always a head, there was always a kick, there was always a save, there was always something there for Wimbledon. I thought they come up to League One, there might be that fine margin that goes against them. And I'm saying that a bit like Burnley in the Premier League this year, that it just switches the quality you go like that, but the quality goes like that. And I said they'd lose 12 games of football by at least one goal, just one goal. That's the second one. And in both games of football, you'd probably be thinking on the balance of, look, the Luton game, they probably deserved a point. Yes, say 90 plus 2, you think you can get a point. That's 2 extra points to be sat on 8 rather than 6. And those 2 extra points come the end of the season. Experience comes in. Realistically, I'm asking for more there. For Wimbledon, it's a decent start. Great win away at Reading. Great performance against Lincoln, against 10 men. What have you made of their start? And do you think they've got enough under Johnny Jackson? Because they're another one that have been patient, 3-year plan, and they've got the rewards for it.
Yeah, I think they've started really well. They've beaten the 2 teams that they kind of not needed to beat, but maybe realistically thought we can compete with these teams. And then they played the 2 sides coming down that will have the most money and the best players in the league, Luton and Cardiff, and deserve points from both of them. And they are desperately unlucky not to come away with what would have been looked at an unbelievable 2 0-0 draws last night. Like you say, Cardiff didn't deserve the 3 points. It was a pretty lackluster performance from them. But from Wimbledon's point of view, with probably one of the smallest, if not the smallest budget in the league, it was an outstanding performance for them to keep Cardiff at arm's length. Yeah, I think it's a really, really, really good start from AFC Wimbledon, because probably a side that most people have had in the bottom four, just because the lack of player quality, perhaps. But yeah, I think they've got plenty to be proud of for their start to the season.
They've started quite well when you think about it. Obviously, they did lose key players. I think Nerfil is obviously one that they lost a lot of the team that did very well for them last season, especially kind of at Wembley. But you look at the squad and you think Orsey's a solid League One, League Two striker. Ben Reeves in midfield. Alistair Smith I thought was excellent. Simway out on the right. Seddon's been there before. Johnson, unlucky against Luton. They haven't got tons of quality. I just feel they need to dig out results like they did last year. And don't get me wrong, they did that at Reading. They found a way to win that game of football. And you're not always going to... That's the type of game last year that they draw 0-0. But they'd probably be in League Two, if they play those 4 games, they'd be sat on 8 points rather than 6. And it's just key differences. They're not far away.
That's nothing to be embarrassed about.
No, nothing about to be embarrassed about. But all I'm saying is, I feel there'll be games where Wimbledon are probably well and truly beaten 2-3, 4-0. So when you are in the games that you are, and you've got a real opportunity to grab a point, yeah. I feel that there'll be very few opportunities where Wimbledon can get points from at times where they feel they maybe didn't expect a point, or where I feel that they need to, when they've got the opportunity, take it. So it's a bit like darts. You've got to win. Say Luke Little's having an off leg. You've got the darts. You've got to win your leg of darts on your against Luke Little to stand. You can't. And it's like you're playing first to 6, and you've hold throw for 3. You're 3-2 up, and then because you're throwing for, as soon as you lose throwing, you're thinking 3-all. He goes 4-3 up. You're thinking, I'm behind now. Now I'm chasing. Now I'm behind. It's a bit like how I describe Cardiff, though. Good response. Brian Murphy is a young coach that we've often had chats about. They'd only won 2 in 26 away matches prior to this. You've got a very, very young squad. That's the way he wants to go. A lot of Cardiff fans believe he's changed the mentality from listening to a lot of those. They remain unbeaten, winning 3, drawing 1, 10 points, 3 clean sheets in 3. Going away at Wimbledon, Davis with the goal, deflects and finds a way in. They could have had a couple of penalties on the night as well. Great victory for them, and showed enormous character.
Yeah, they did. It's always important to win your games late on. Like you said, they've got such a young spine of the squad. I mean, it's actually quite ridiculous how young some of the players are. But the thing that stood out for me, and this is partly why I was like saying how good Wimbledon did, the 5 substitutes they brought off the bench. They brought on an English international in Callum Chambers. They've brought on a former Premier League goal scorer and a bona fide player that should be playing at the Championship, Callum Robinson. They brought on a really exciting youngster who obviously got the goal, Isaac Davis. Did he get the goal?
Yeah, he got the goal. He got the goal. Trickled in.
You brought on David Turnbull, who was getting rave reviews out in Scotland, and then you bring on Chris Willock.
Yeah, they've got the kind of saving the young players to start. Yeah, it's like all their older players seem to be on the bench.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, it's
obviously working for them at the moment. He's worked with young players. I think was it the City group and at Rochdale as well. That his football was very young and very like kind of. If you look at the Rochdale squad that I think he had, going back to it, it was like I think he had Morley, Rathbone, Callum Camps. If you look, I think they had Sanchez as well, who's now at Chelsea.
Sanchez,
If you look at their squad,
and Gavin Bazuna.
Yeah, they've had young players. He's worked with young players before, so I'm not completely shocked about it.
Now, I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked at all. I'm just shocked that probably 4 of those 5, I think, could easily be playing in the Championship for a decent Championship side. I'd have it pressing off ends, so I'm shocked to see them on the bench.
Bottom end Championship, then, yeah.
Hey, well, yeah, could just beat Leicester, pal, in top 6 actually, but.
Always start well with Peony, don't they? A bit like Blackburn.
No, you are right. You are right. We are lower mid-table, but no, those 4 players I would take. I'd probably come in and maybe challenge for probably come in and challenge for a starting position. So I'm surprised that they're not starting, but it started well for Cardiff. Yes, they've got over the line yesterday. It was a pretty dull performance, and that will have definitely been a disappointing one if they didn't come away with a win.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm
not
so
sold on-
glad to have you here.
I'm not sold on BBM. I'm not sold on him.
Oh, you're not?
Well, I worked with him.
Right. I'm going to show you my Northern football here. Right, here we go. This is my view on football. Right. So you mentioned Tom Cleverley before, and I wanted to mention it, but I didn't know how to execute, and I still don't. These young managers, right, and you go through it. Don't get me wrong, these are good young managers, a lot of them. John Messino, Des Buckingham, Tom Cleverley. I'm trying to think of that type of manager, and I'm sounding like an absolute dinosaur here. Who else have we got? Michael Carrick. There we are. Those types of players that are the type of managers that are. Stephen Schumacher is a little bit one, but he's now on the older side a little bit. That come in and wear a grey little quarter zip, got a nice skin feel, are quite younger, between the ages of 36 and 46, very young into management, first job. Matt Bloomfield is another one, a little bit as well. Obviously, he's still probably in that kind. Conor Horan is another one. Alex Ravel, another one, are quite young, that like a quarter zip or like a tracky top, more of a quarter zip. John Messina loves his quarter zip, that are fashionable. And they go for them because they're young and fashionable and they want to buy an asset and buy stocks at low and see if they can fly. And it's cheaper for them. And if it does well, it does well. If they don't do well, they don't lose a hit. Whereas you kind of get rid. But when it comes to playing football, right, I don't get it. Brian Barry Murphy at Rochdale, he got relegated. Don't get me wrong, his squad was decimated in the end, but he was stubborn. His football got Rochdale relegated. He didn't adapt.
Yeah.
And I kept saying this, and I argue with Jake about this all the time. He did not adapt to League One. No. They were in a relegation dogfight, and you're playing. MK Dons did it. MK Dons got relegated in League One because of the football they were playing. Who was it there? Was it Russell Martin? It was Russell Martin. It was one after Russell Martin. Who was
Liam Manning.
Liam Manning. Right. He's another one. Quarter zip. Again, same mark. The style of football gets people jobs because it's possession football. Pass, 500 passes again. Slow football. There's so many ways to skin a cat in football and win games of football. And in my eyes, I think it's more effective to play Northern football. And what Nagel said, I'd love to meet him and go for a beer with him because I bang agree with him that I think that he's probably BBM is a good fit for Cardiff right now because I think he'll change the culture. He'll bring in more younger style. I think he'll improve. If given time, he needs time to improve them. It can't be judged on a year or two at Cardiff. He might not get them up. I don't think he will get them up in the next year or so unless ownership changes, hopefully. I don't know where they're at with that these days. So if you're a Cardiff fan, let us know down below. But I just think that people get jobs because of the style of football and the possession football. And I agree with you. For me, that I wasn't a massive fan, a massive sold. I think that, again, I think there's a manager that went on Stockport that basically said that, it was Sam Allardyce, I think, that got jobs because of the way they play football, and it doesn't always work. I'm so with you there. League Grant's Northern football all the way for the win for me.
Who do you think the oldest manager in the Football League is?
What, currently?
Yeah. I think I saw this the other day. I'm pretty sure.
Trying to think now. Because they're all quite in. To be fair, in League One, Clough.
59, Nigel Clough. Bolton 1-0, by the way. Mason Burstow.
Wow. What league are they in?
League One.
They're in League One. Wow. Colwell's quite young. Conor Horan. Graham Alexander's not 60. Lee Grant, Matt Bloomfield, Scabala. No, it's none of them.
Played Stags this weekend. Yesterday.
Steve Bruce.
Bruce, 64 Steve Bruce is. Yeah. And when I saw that, I was like, 92 managers, the oldest is 64. And the next closest, I'm pretty sure, was, I think maybe Ian Holloway, who was 62. And I'm like, that's
Done a good job, by the
really
way.
young. I'm saying like 5,
Yeah,
10, 15 years ago. It was normal to see a Roy Hodgson on the touchline, like, and now it's
because
they're all
they're seen as
40.
dinosaurs.
They're all 40 now, aren't they? They're all decent looking.
You go through it, right?
They've
League
got a
One.
better hairline than you.
Oh, mate, don't, mate. I've been stressed about. Look how bad it looks. I'm gonna have to start colouring it in on this side. Don't get me started. But you look at it. Vale, young manager for 2 years management. You know, BBM, young manager. Conor Horan, proper first year management. Graham Alexander, older manager. Lee Grant, king. You know, first year management, done a bit of coaching at Ipswich. Matt Bloomfield is fairly young. Colchester, Wycombe, Luton. Scabala is in his second full season. I think he's been manager of Lincoln for nearly 2 years now. Dave Challoner is a very experienced manager, but you look at Dave Challoner and you wouldn't. I think I'd have him down as 48. Yes, 49. Looking at this now. Stephen Schumacher, yes, he's been around the block, but he's only been managing for 5 or 6 years. Richie Wellens, again, youngest manager. Grant McCann, youngest manager, but still 40s, you'd think. Gary Colwell, the same. Cloughie is an older manager. Ryan Lowe, young. Wimbledon, again, you'd feel. Johnny Jackson, young manager. But Gary Bowyer is one, but he's not as old as you think. Obviously, Matt Hamshaw. I didn't really know too much about, to be fair, before he came in to them, but he's 43 again. So you look at even Blackpool, Steve Bruce, Darren Moore, Dodds is a young manager, Kevin Nolan, young manager, Tom Cleverley, Darren Ferguson. There's not a lot of even 50-odd-year-old managers these days when you think about it. They're all being, and I get it, it's the modern game. And yeah, that's all I'll say. We've got one game left.
Short-termism, you do bad at 1 or 2 jobs, you don't get another one.
This is Jack's passion, by the way, managers as well. That's why me and him can actually really agree with this. It brings back uni days.
Well, when Steve Bruce got appointed as Blackpool manager, people were like, that's a dreadful appointment. And I was like, how can you get that many championship promotions on your record and be seen as a dreadful manager?
I'll be honest with you. I hammered it because at the thought, I didn't think, I just thought that come in, but to be fair, he's done a good job. And I'm glad that he's been well back. Holloway, I hammered that because he's been out of the game for a long time. But he's done. I don't think there's any better character to reunite that club. I love the way we're putting this last game off because I'd love it if he was
dreadful.
Here now.
Absolutely dreadful game.
Yeah, Northampton 0, Lincoln 1. Lincoln had 1 shot on target. I tell you what, it was some goal by Freddie Draper, who scored his 7th league goal for Lincoln in 57 League One games. Don't let the stats perceive you that he was only his 21st start yesterday. He has not started a lot of games of football, but it was a sweet volley into the corner. He hit it sweet and he knew it. And after that, Lincoln got the goal and basically said, break us down at your peril. And Northampton have got no quality to break a team down. We learned it against Stevenage and we learned it yesterday. They are a striker short, but for me, they are missing a playmaker in midfield. They, in my eyes, I don't want to say it, and I've been saying it all season. I think they look the weaker side in the division. But Lincoln, 3 wins from 4.
Yeah. I don't disagree with your point on Northampton. It's a game that I watched highlights of, and I was very thankful that I didn't waste 90 minutes watching it. Lincoln City, as you say, 3 shots in a game when you've got James Collins, Freddie Draper and Rob Street on the pitch. I mean, that's criminal. But they went 1-0 up and saw it out. And that is the Michael Scubala way of doing things. Northampton did have opportunities. They keep saying on the apps that I kind of follow the football on, that they're playing this kind of funky 3-3-1-3 formation with, I think it's Cameron McGee and Tyrese Forner playing closest to the striker. And they're not playing, even though they're central midfielders, they're almost playing as like an inside forward, a bit like Klopp's Liverpool, which just seems really funky. But I've not seen too much of that to be able to properly analyse that one. But fair play to the Imps. They do what they do well. They defended for their lives. The goalkeeper was excellent. And it was not a hit and run, but they've kind of shithoused it, have they? Am I allowed to swear? You said jizz before, so I'll be allowed.
It was a good win for them. Clean sheet, 1-0. away from home. Northampton, for me, I think, are in trouble. I look at them and I think Ethan Wheatley struggled at Walsall, struggled for game time, struggled for time. Tavish Forner up there. Again, I didn't even have him down as one of those players that can really go and threat the game. I have him down deeper in the role as well. Cameron McGeehan, to be fair, is always good for 6 or 7 goals a season, but you need more. Campbell is the middle of the road, the League Two football, top end League Two football, not League One level. Nestor Guinness, Walker, Burrows, Taylor. It looks mid-table League Two, that starting lineup. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to be out. Yeah, Elliot
It's
Lee.
not good. They've had a poor transfer window.
They signed a lot of players. Like, they're relying on Sam Hoskins, who, yes, he scored 15 goals, 22 goals a year before in League Two, in the year they got promoted, but scored 7 goals last year. And he's 30, he's 32, 33.
It's not a good side. Not a good side.
Agree with you. So, any questions, get them in below for the last 5 minutes of the show. What would you say then, Jack, over the next month? Who's a team to look for and who's a team that you could see slipping down that table a little bit or continue to struggle?
Nice way of putting me on the spot.
I'm going
to look for. I'm going to stick by Wycombe Wanderers. I think keep an eye on them. I think Mike Dodds, I believe, has got them. I'm going to sound
Wycombe,
really...
Stevenage, Mansfield.
I think he's got them well organised, and I think that is the way to win games. And I think if they start getting a little bit of luck and a little bit of variance, I think they will climb the league. Team I expect to struggle. Rotherham United, who haven't started the season very well anyway, have they? They only had one shot, didn't they?
You have them down there, Rotherham?
I think I had them going down.
Wow.
I had them going down, which, just second season after being in the Championship would be a real drop. But yeah, I'm just not a massive fan of appointing a manager off a caretaker's spell.
No, also for me, I agree with you there about Matt Hamshaw, because if you speak to players, they'll all go, what a great lad he was and great coach. But he's that type of coach that when you're not getting picked, that, short term, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know enough about him to be able to analyse his character, but yeah, I'm not convinced he was a better person to have in charge compared to Steve Evans, even though they had such a poor season last year.
A lot of players though, didn't they? And they were trying to get back to some sort of game of football after a bad period. But Jack, thanks so much for joining me tonight, mate.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I'm at work at 5 a.m. in the morning, so you've kept me up late, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Jack, well, we'll let you go and get some sleep. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you could like and subscribe on your way out. Jack's socials, I'll pop in the description below as well. He's a good lad. I used to call him Jigsaw at uni because he was a goal in. Every time the ball went into his box, well, he went to pieces, didn't he? So
a bit like Peterborough United.
Yeah, a bit like Peterborough have in the last few years. Thanks for watching all, and until next time, I will see you later. We'll be back Sunday for League One Live, but we'll also have Fleetwood Oldham on Saturday night as well. Thanks for watching.